Okay, you are going to need 3 colors of pencil, green and red and any other color you like. Do not cut this out until you have finished building your concentration gradient. Step number 1, if it's going against the concentration gradient, we know that that requires energy. So this arrow we are going to color in red. Okay? If it's going with the concentration gradient, we know it's passive, it does not require energy, and we're going to color that arrow in green, green for go, because it's super easy to always go from high to low. Okay, so we know the 2 colors of the arrows. Now, the background's a little more difficult to explain, but as you know, high concentration is where you have a lot of colored, a lot of molecules dissolved in a certain thing. So if you were making Kool-Aid and you had very high concentration Kool-Aid, you probably didn't add a whole lot of water to it. That's going to be a very dark, vivid color because you've got so many Kool-Aid molecules compared to the amount of water molecules. However, if you make Kool-Aid and you add extra water to it, too much water, well, at that point, your Kool-Aid is going to be very low concentration. It's going to be very pale. So what I'm trying to do with the pencil, and I'm only using 1 color, I'm going to make it really, really dark up here, very high concentration. Okay, so it's a very deep, dark color. But as I go down, you can see it's getting paler and paler. You need to kind of blend these all together, and you can see it's much paler here, and by the time I get to the bottom, it's going to be very, very pale indeed. And you can work this until you kind of get it all right. Okay, and so you kind of get the idea. If I show you this one, you can see here in my finished one, it's real dark at the top, and it gets progressively paler and paler as you come down the concentration gradient. Okay, so once you've got this done, I took my red pencil for my active label, and sometimes it's a little easier if you use a pen. Right, so we're going to go around here to remind us that this is active. Right, you can do it with a map color or a pen. And remember, when things are active, they use ATP, which they make from cellular respiration. And my passive one, right, where it's going from where there's a lot of material to where there's less material, since that does not require energy, that is, I'm coloring in green. So the concentration gradient is where you go from a lot of molecules dissolved to where you've got fewer molecules. So if this could be outside the cell, and this could be inside the cell. So if you're moving a lot of molecules from outside the cell into the cell, it's going to be passive because there's less inside the cell. But let's say we were trying to move stuff from outside of the cell where it was a low concentration to inside of the cell where it was a high concentration. We're going to be going up from where there's less to where there's more, and that's going to be going against the concentration gradient, and obviously it's harder to move things uphill, so it's going to be active. Once you've done this, the next step is to take your scissors, and this little flap here we need to keep, right? So you're going to cut all around. So we're going to cut all the way down here. Okay. Don't cut that little bit off there. But we're going to cut all the way around, and it's much easier. Don't cut it out until after you've done the colouring. Okay, put a little chunk to take out there. Okay, a little chunk there. Now, this just kind of tells you how good your cutting out skills are, because I'm just going to cut that there. I'm going to cut around this just kind of like that to start off with, and I'll come back and clean that bit up here in a minute. Okay, so I've cut all of that out. Right, I'm very carefully cutting out these little bits here. I do not want to cut this bit off, and you're going to work all the way around. Okay, you get the idea. Now the last step, okay, is you're going to take this bit here and you want to fold it along the arrow. Now, if I transfer to my completed one, you can see I took that flap underneath, I glued this down. There's my class notes are here, right? And I glued this down here so it lies flat. And so the idea is, this is actually shows the concentration gradient. I really wanted you to get the idea that it's high to low is with the concentration gradient, right? It's going with the concentration gradient, and low to high is going against concentration. So we made us a little pop-up concentration gradient.